The man standing across the BBQ grill smirked and shouted loud enough for the whole block to hear. "She's carrying my baby." And in that single moment, my entire world collapsed. I froze, the plate in my hand slipping, the laughter around me turning into whispers. My wife Lily stood there pale, her silence screaming louder than any denial. If you've ever had your heart ripped out in public, you know the kind of pain that burns deep and makes you want to vanish. But here's the thing, I didn't vanish. I decided right there in front of everyone that this betrayal would not break me, it would build me. Before I take you deeper into how this shocking twist flipped my life upside down, make sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share this video with someone who believes karma always comes back harder. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. What happened after that BBQ party was nothing short of a storm, and Lily had no idea what was coming. Everyone at the BBQ froze, their eyes darting between me, Lily, and the neighbor who had just dropped the bomb. Some tried to hide their smirks, others pretended to sip their drinks. But I could feel the weight of their judgment crushing me. My so-called friends avoided my gaze, like betrayal was contagious. Lily finally opened her mouth, but no words came out, just a shaky breath and eyes full of guilt. That silence was louder than any confession. I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to explode right there. I wanted to scream, to throw the table over, to demand answers, but something inside me told me not to give them the satisfaction of watching me break. So I stood there, stone-faced, even as my chest burned like fire. The neighbor leaned back, in his chair with arrogance, sipping his beer as if he had won some twisted prize. People started whispering, "Did you hear that? His wife's pregnant with the neighbor's kid." The humiliation spread through the party like wildfire. I had never felt so small, so exposed. Lily finally muttered, It's not what you think," but no one bought it, not even me. Her voice cracked, and I knew the truth before she even said another word. In that moment I realized something important. This wasn't just betrayal, it was a show, a public display meant to crush me. And if that's how they wanted it, then fine, I would let them laugh today. But tomorrow I would start building the kind of revenge they'd never see coming. I turned, dropped the plate of food onto the grass, and walked away without saying a single word. My silence was my weapon, and it was sharper than any insult I could have thrown. That night, staring at the ceiling in an empty bedroom, I made myself a promise. Lily and her smug lover thought they had destroyed me, but they had just lit the fire that would one day destroy them. The days after that, BBQ felt like walking through ashes. Everywhere I went, I felt the weight of eyes on me, neighbors, co-workers, even relatives whispering behind my back. My phone buzzed with messages I never opened, and social media was filled with people pretending to check in when all they really wanted was gossip. Lily tried to talk, tried to explain, but every word that came out of her mouth sounded like another lie. She didn't even deny the pregnancy claim, which said more than enough. I moved into the guest room, locking the door at night, listening to her muffled sobs on the other side. Part of me wanted to cry too, but tears felt useless. Instead, I poured every ounce of energy into work, long nights at my desk, early mornings chasing opportunities no one thought I was capable of. Every rejection became fuel, every doubt another reason to push harder. People thought I was broken, but secretly I was building. I stopped wasting money, invested in my skills, and started a side project I didn't tell anyone about. It was my little secret, the seed of something that one day would grow into a forest too big to ignore. Even when exhaustion hit, I whispered to myself, "Let them laugh now. One day, they'll choke on it." Lily, meanwhile, grew more distant. She stayed out late, claimed she was with friends, but I didn't care anymore. The part of me that once begged for her love was gone. I had a new obsession: success. Quiet, hidden success that no one saw coming. One evening, as I worked late on my laptop, she stood in the doorway and said coldly, "You're wasting your time. You'll never be more than you are right now." Those words cut deep, but instead of breaking me, they hardened me. Because if she truly believed I was nothing, then the day she discovered the truth would destroy her. And from that night on, I stopped seeing her as my wife. She had already chosen her side. Now I was choosing mine. Months passed, and while Lily flaunted her new friendships in whispers and late nights, I quietly stacked brick after brick towards something no one could see. My savings account grew, my side project turned into real income, and soon I had clients who trusted me more than I trusted myself. Still, I kept my mouth shut. Silence was my shield, secrecy my power. Then came the family reunion. A gathering I usually dreaded, but this time it was different. I didn't plan to reveal anything, but fate had other plans. From the moment I walked in, the air felt heavy with judgment. My cousins smirked, my uncles patted me on the back with fake sympathy, and my own brother muttered, "He still hasn't gotten over the BBQ disaster." The worst was Lily. She strutted around as if nothing had happened, laughing, louder than usual, clinging to conversations like she had something to prove. At one point she leaned close to a relative and whispered just loud enough for me to hear, "He's still chasing dreams that'll never pay the bills." The table erupted in chuckles. Every laugh felt like a knife. I wanted to get up, slam my fist on the table, shout the truth. But no, not yet. Timing was everything. So I swallowed the humiliation, kept my head down, and let them believe their lies. But deep inside, I was smiling, because what none of them knew was that the business they mocked was already pulling in more than their salaries combined. The peak came when one uncle raised a glass and said, "Here's to Lily for putting up with this man all these years. Must be hard being married to someone who can't even provide properly." The room burst into cruel laughter. Lily didn't defend me. She didn't even flinch. She just smiled and sipped her drink. That was the moment I realized the truth. I wasn't just betrayed by Lily, I was betrayed by everyone who should have had my back. And if they all wanted to see me as the underdog, then I'd give them the sweetest revenge they'd ever tasted, because the day of my revelation was closer than they could ever imagine. After that reunion, I stopped waiting for loyalty. I cut ties with anyone who laughed at me, even if they shared my blood. My circle became small, just me, my work, and my kids. While Lily slipped further into her double life, I kept my head down and pushed harder. My hidden project wasn't just growing, it was exploding. What started as late-night work in a dimly lit room had become a full-fledged company with real contracts, real profits, and real power. Still, I said nothing. Every day I walked into that house and played the fool. Lily thought she was clever, whispering on the phone, sneaking out for errands. I didn't confront her, not because I didn't care, but because I was saving it. Revenge, I realized, was best served not in anger, but in silence. Silence gives it weight. The real turning point came when I was invited to a private investors' dinner. Powerful men and women sat across from me, shaking my hand, asking for my insight. That night, one of them leaned in and said, "You've built something incredible. In a few years, this could be worth millions." For the first time in a long time, I believed it too. But while I was rising in silence, Lily was falling into arrogance. She mocked me at home, told me I was wasting my life, and bragged to her friend that she was already halfway out the door. She didn't know I had overheard everything. Every cruel word, every plan she made to replace me. I could have confronted her right there. But no. That would be too easy. I wanted her to taste the same humiliation she fed me, only 10 times sharper. So I waited. I worked. I planned. And when the opportunity finally came, it was almost too perfect. A big family gathering. Everyone who had mocked me, doubted me, laughed at me, all under one roof again. This time they were expecting the same quiet, beaten-down man. But what they were about to see would destroy every lie they had ever told about me. The night of the gathering, I walked in calm, dressed sharp, not flashy, just enough to make people blink twice. My cousins whispered, "Look who actually showed up." My uncle smirked. Back again for another pity dinner? And Lily? She didn't even glance my way. She was too busy whispering to the neighbor, who had somehow found his way into the event like he belonged there. The air was thick with arrogance and fake smiles. Everyone spoke over me, treating me like background noise. At dinner, one relative leaned across the table and said, "So, still chasing those little projects of yours? Must be hard living in someone else's shadow." The room chuckled. Forks clinking, glasses raised. I didn't flinch. I just leaned back in my chair, letting them enjoy their cheap laughter. Inside, I felt a calm fire. They thought this was another night to mock me, another night to confirm the story they had built in their heads, that I was nothing. But tonight, the script was about to flip. Halfway through the meal, my phone buzzed. I let it sit on the table, screen lighting up with the company's logo. My brother sneered, "What's that, your fake business calling?" The neighbor laughed loudest of all. Maybe someone wants to buy his imaginary empire. Their words filled the room, bouncing. From wall to wall, everyone laughing like it was rehearsed. That was my cue. Slowly, I picked up the phone, stood up, and said clearly, "Excuse me, this is important." The room fell quiet for a moment. I stepped aside, answered, and with a calm smile I said just loud enough, "Yes, the contract is signed. We'll move forward with the $1 million deal." Then I placed the phone back down. The silence that followed was delicious. Forks stopped in midair. Glasses froze halfway to lips. Every face around that table drained of color. Lily's laughter died instantly, replaced by confusion. The neighbor shifted in his seat, no longer so smug. I let the silence stretch before saying, "Funny how people laugh at what they don't understand. But tonight, you'll understand everything." All eyes were glued to me as I pulled out a slim folder from my jacket. "You want to know about my so-called little projects?" I said, placing it on the table. My uncle leaned forward, still smirking, but the smirk faltered when he saw the embossed logo of my company on the cover. I opened it slowly, revealing contracts, balance sheets, and a headline from a major business magazine featuring me as the founder of one of the fastest-growing firms in the state. Gasps echoed around the room. This can't be real," one cousin muttered, flipping through the pages with trembling hands. The neighbor tried to laugh it off. "So what? You made a website or something?" But his voice cracked, betraying his nerves. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "It's not a website. It's a multi-million-dollar enterprise. And guess what? The same company just acquired the firm you bragged about working at, which means—" I paused, enjoying every heartbeat of suspense. "You now work for me." The color drained from his face. He stammered, "No, you're bluffing." I slid another paper across the table, his company's acquisition notice, stamped and signed. "Check the date. It's official as of this morning." Lily's fork clattered onto her plate. She whispered, "Why didn't you ever say anything?" I turned to her, my voice steady. "Because loyalty mattered more than money. I built this in silence, hoping one day I could share the success with the people who claimed to love me. But instead I got betrayal, laughter, and lies." The room was dead quiet, except for the neighbor shifting uncomfortably. My uncle's smugness evaporated. My cousins looked down, suddenly fascinated by their plates, every single one of them. who once mocked me, now sat frozen, trapped between shame and disbelief. I leaned back in my chair, calm and collected. You all wrote me off as a failure, but tonight I own the table you're eating at, and the joke's no longer on me. The silence was heavier than the air after a storm. Their humiliation had just begun. The neighbor finally stood up, red-faced, fists clenched. "You think this makes you better than us?" He spat, his voice trembling. I didn't even flinch. "Better?" "No," I said, my tone razor-sharp, "but stronger, smarter, and richer than every single one of you combined. Absolutely." Lily tried to reach for my arm, her voice shaking. "Please, we can fix this. We have kids." I pulled my arm away. "The kids are mine. The lies? They're yours." Her face collapsed, the weight of her choices pressing down on her like a mountain. Then, in front of everyone, I pulled out one last envelope. "This," I said, tossing it onto the table, "is the divorce agreement. Already signed by me. All I need is your signature. You don't get my money, my house, or my life. You only get what you've earned." "Nothing," she gasped, her hands trembling as she grabbed the papers. "You can't do this." But the lawyer who accompanied me calmly cut her off. "He can, and he already has." The neighbor muttered, "What about us then? We'll start fresh." But I laughed, a cold, final laugh. "Fresh? With what money? You're on my payroll now, remember? You'll be working under my rules. Every paycheck you get, every hour you grind. It'll be a reminder that the man you mocked owns your future." The crowd at the table shifted uncomfortably, whispers spreading like wildfire. The very people who once mocked me now saw me as untouchable. Their laughter was gone, replaced with fear, shame, and awe. I stood up, adjusted my jacket, and looked around the room. You all thought betrayal would destroy me. Instead, it made me unstoppable. Remember this night, not because I exposed you, but because you exposed yourselves. And with that, I walked out into the cool night air, leaving Lily sobbing, the neighbor humiliated, and my so-called family crushed under the weight of their own actions. Sometimes revenge isn't loud, sometimes it's calm, sharp, and final. And that night, I didn't just win, I destroyed their pride.